There is a voice inside us that wants to run from pain, to hide from chaos, to lash out when the world wounds us. It whispers that comfort is safety, that anger is strength, that fear is a warning we must obey. Most will spend their lives obeying this voice, never questioning, never fighting, letting every passing emotion command their actions. But we are not most people. We have learned the battlefield is within. The war is silent, unseen by others. It is the storm that rises without warning in our own heads, the wave of panic, the sharp sting of insult, the hunger for approval, the urge to blame, the pull to quit. We know what it's like to be a slave to these invisible forces, to watch ourselves shatter in the hands of emotions we never chose. But there is another way. We refuse to be ruled by what is loudest inside us. We watch ourselves as if from a distance. When rage erupts, we do not erupt with it. When doubt seeps in, we do not retreat. When sorrow tightens its grip, we breathe and hold our ground. Self-control is not about suppression, it is about command. We force ourselves to hold the line, to pause before speaking, to stand still in discomfort, to choose, again and again, the response that makes us stronger. This is the true test, not what the world throws at us, but whether we master the voice within. Control your mind or be controlled by it. The choice is made every moment. We choose to fight. The first enemy is you. Before you ever attempt to shape the world around you, before you even think to raise your voice about what is wrong out there, you must first face the silent uprising within yourself. The true battlefield lies not outside, but within the mind. Before you demand authority over your surroundings, over your circumstances, over other people, over outcomes, pause and ask, have I truly learned to govern myself? Do I possess real command over my own thoughts, impulses, and emotions? Or am I merely drifting, pushed and pulled by every disturbance that passes my way? Most people go through life believing that their greatest obstacles are outside of them. They blame the clamor of traffic, the constant demands of work, the unpredictable moods of others, or the endless distractions of daily living for their lack of peace. But the true adversary is not the noise, nor the crowd, nor the obligations that stack up like stones. The real enemy is the unruly mind, one that has never been taught to obey, never been disciplined to pause before reacting, never been shown how to choose calm in the face of chaos. Consider how often you let small irritations become storms. The impatient honk of a horn, the sharp word from a colleague, the unexpected delay or setback, these are not your enemies. They are only triggers. The real trouble starts when your mind gives them permission to disturb your equilibrium. The untrained mind leaps to react without a moment's consideration, panics before examining the truth, and surrenders to fear that is often groundless. When you allow these forces to direct you, you become a servant, not a master. Your inner peace is not stolen, it is surrendered, handed over to the world without resistance. To live with true strength, you must become a quiet observer of your own nature. Watch yourself, not with harsh judgment, but with honest curiosity. Notice how swiftly your emotions seize control. See how one careless comment can upend your mood, how a minor criticism can unravel your focus, how a glance or a gesture can send you spiraling. This is not evidence of power. This is evidence of slavery to every fleeting feeling and passing circumstance. But control does not mean bottling everything up, pretending to feel nothing, or building walls so high that nothing can touch you. Real mastery is not cold suppression. It is composure in the center of the storm. It is the ability to notice the rush of anger, the surge of fear, the weight of anxiety, and to choose your response rather than letting your emotions dictate your fate. Strength is not found in never feeling, but in never being ruled by what you feel. Stillness is not something the world hands to you as a gift. It is something you build with intention. Even as the world shouts and circumstances swirl, you have the power to be the one who remains grounded and unmoved. This is not detachment from life itself. It is detachment from chaos, from the endless tug of war of reactions. It is the freedom to act with clarity and purpose, no matter how wild the winds may be. And so, all transformation begins with a single, unflinching admission: I am the first enemy I must conquer. The struggle is not with the world, but with the undisciplined self. In winning that battle, you find a peace that no amount of noise, disruption, or adversity can ever take away. Only then are you truly ready to shape the world, because you have finally shaped yourself. Build the inner fortress. No matter how far you run, you cannot outrun the noise, demands, and unpredictability of the world. Chaos is woven into the very fabric of daily existence. Sudden disruptions, harsh words, unwelcome news, endless obligations, all waiting just beyond your door. There is no permanent escape from these pressures, no safe haven in the outer world that remains untouched by change or misfortune. But within you, there exists a place that chaos cannot reach, a stronghold that no one can storm unless you leave the gate unguarded. This place is the fortress of the mind. Unlike fortresses built of stone and mortar, this inner citadel is constructed from principles, enduring values that do not crumble with circumstance. Its walls are not physical, but mental, rising from the discipline you choose each day. Its defenses are not soldiers standing watch, but habits of thought and discipline forged by repetition and resolve. It is invisible to others, but it is as real as anything you can touch, and it offers a protection no one else can grant you. Every morning, you must restore and reinforce this fortress, brick by mental brick, before the demands of the world crash down on your shoulders. Before the voices and opinions of others flood your mind, you must reclaim the territory within. This is your first duty. Do not let the outside world be the architect of your day. Shape it yourself. Decide from the outset the spirit in which you will live, the attitude you will bring, and the posture you will maintain. Begin by setting your tone. Let your first moments belong to you, not to urgency or expectation. Stand or sit in silence and take command of your breath. Each breath can be an anchor, a return to yourself, a reminder that you are sovereign over this small, vital kingdom. Think deliberately. Remind yourself of your highest principles, your deepest values. This is not a meaningless ritual. This is the opening maneuver in the strategy of life, a war not fought with swords, but with steadfastness. If you begin the day in a frenzy, reacting to alarms, leaping to every new demand, flooding your mind with noise and distractions, you step onto the battlefield unprepared, exposed, and weaponless. You are easily pierced by the world's slings and arrows. But if you begin with intentional stillness and clarity, you walk into the storm armored in ways others cannot see. Your calm is not accidental, nor is your strength mysterious. It is the outcome of silent preparation. Those around you will notice. When storms descend and others falter, they will look to you and wonder why you remain unmoved, why trouble rolls off your back, why you do not break under pressure. They may call you lucky or say you were born with a calm temperament, but you know otherwise. Your endurance is not a gift. It is not the result of chance. It is the product of inner training, of discipline practiced before the battle ever began. You did not wait for crisis to strengthen yourself. You built your defenses before they were needed. Never forget, the fortress within is not a place for indulgence or withdrawal. It is not built for comfort, but for survival. It exists so you can meet the world head on, face the chaos without crumbling, and carry your peace into any situation. In times of turmoil, your inner fortress is your last line of defense, and if you maintain it, it will always hold. Your thoughts are not facts. The mind is both a guide and a deceiver, a cunning liar that often whispers stories too easily mistaken for truth. In the quiet hours of self-doubt or fatigue, it murmurs worst-case scenarios and cloaks them in the sober voice of reason. What begins as a stray, fleeting fear is spun into an impending fact. The mind is quick to take passing, unbidden thoughts and carve them deep into your sense of self, as if a moment of worry or weakness somehow defines the entirety of your character. If left unchecked, the mind does not merely reflect your reality, it reshapes it, coloring your view of the world and of yourself with shadows that may not exist. To live wisely is to recognize that not every thought deserves your faith, especially when you are tired, when your defenses are low, when wounds old or new ache quietly beneath the surface, when anxiety or uncertainty creeps in. In those moments, the mind's fabrications grow louder, more persuasive. Doubt masquerades as insight. Pessimism claims to be caution. Fear insists it is simply being realistic. This is the hour when you must be most on guard. True control over the mind does not mean silencing its endless chatter or attempting to banish every unwelcome idea. It means stepping back and interrogating your own thoughts. Treat them as witnesses whose motives you do not yet trust. Hold each thought up to the light and ask, is this true? Is this helpful? Does this serve the person I am striving to become? In this inquiry, you separate signal from noise, truth from mere imagination. Some thoughts are honest reflections of reality and deserve your attention. Others are just echoes of old fears, outdated stories, or simple exhaustion. You are not meant to be the servant of your thoughts. You are their master, their commander, the final authority over which ones deserve to linger and which must be dismissed. To exist is not to be endlessly tossed by every internal wave, every mood or impulse. You are not here simply to react, to let the mind drag you in any direction it pleases. You are here to respond, with intention and clarity, to the challenges and opportunities that arise. This is not a power that appears overnight. Like a soldier training before the battle, you must discipline your mind in moments of quiet and calm so that when true adversity arrives, your reactions are steady. Discipline is forged in ordinary days when you take notice of your own thinking, when you correct the lies before they take root, when you challenge the voice that says you are not enough. You practice in peace so that when the storm comes, your actions are not wild or desperate. They are measured, clean, and precise. And above all, when your mind whispers its familiar discouragement when it tries to convince you you can't, that is the moment you meet its challenge. You do not fight thought with thought, but with action. You reply not with more words, but with demonstration. Watch me. Let your life be the answer. Let your persistence become the proof that your fears were nothing more than shadows. With every deliberate response, every act of courage and clarity, you take back ground from the mind's illusions. And in doing so, you shape not just your thoughts, but your entire destiny. Emotion is the test. Most of us move through life believing that we are creatures of reason, guided by logic and clear thought. We like to think that our decisions are measured, that our opinions are built upon facts, and that we control our own destinies with the force of intellect. But if we are honest, we must admit that emotion has far more sway than we care to confess. A mood, seemingly insignificant, can sabotage an entire morning before it has even begun. One careless word from someone else can cast a shadow that lingers over us for days. What starts as a flicker of feeling can quietly dictate our choices, our energy, and even the shape of our lives. Emotion itself is not the villain in this story. To feel deeply is to be human, to love, to mourn, to be moved by beauty or stirred by injustice. These are the very experiences that give our days color and meaning. But it is when we become obedient to our emotions, when we let them steer us unchallenged, that we surrender our sovereignty. To live at the mercy of feelings is to be forever at the mercy of the world's turbulence. You become like a ship without a rudder, tossed by every sudden wave, drifting wherever the wind happens to blow. Projects are started in excitement and abandoned in boredom or frustration. Promises are made in moments of joy and forgotten in times of despair. Life becomes a cycle of rising and falling with no true direction or foundation. The real task is not to banish emotion or suppress what you feel. Control does not mean hardening yourself into a stone, immune to the world's joys and sorrows. Instead, it means learning to experience emotion fully without allowing it to govern your actions. Anger may come as a guest knocking at your door. Sadness may arrive, sitting quietly in the corner of your mind. But these visitors do not get to make decisions for you. You acknowledge their presence, but you do not let them vote on your actions or dictate your choices. You listen, but you do not kneel. Most people, when confronted by discomfort, seek relief. They want the feeling to pass, the pain to ease, the worry to disappear. They will distract themselves, numb themselves, or surrender to whatever emotion is loudest at the moment. They live in a state of constant reaction, forever pulled and pushed by inner weather. But you are called to something higher. Relief is not your highest goal. Strength is. The path you choose is not one of reaction, but of response. Each time you choose discipline over impulse, each moment you decide to act in line with your principles rather than your passing moods, you carve out a stronger, more resilient mind. This is not a single decision, but a practice, repeated again and again until it becomes your way of being. You build a mind that does not run from difficulty, that does not hide from challenge, that does not simply survive the storms, but learns to stand in the midst of them. Over time, you become not just a participant in your life, but a leader of yourself and of those who look to you, for example. In this way, you turn emotion from master to messenger. You gain the power to stand firm, to choose your path, and to live with intention, no matter what feelings may rise or fall within you. This is the quiet triumph of discipline, a mind that leads and is no longer led. Repetition builds mastery. One moment of strength, no matter how impressive, is not enough to shape your life. One day of clear purpose, even if it feels like a breakthrough, does not signal the final victory. The mind is stubborn by nature. It does not immediately bend to new intentions, nor does it surrender at the first sign of resolve. It resists. It pushes back, as if testing your seriousness, demanding to know whether your commitment is genuine or simply another passing impulse. This is why true self-control cannot be a single, grand gesture. Control must be practiced over and over again. It is not won in a single battle, but in a campaign fought daily, hourly, even in the most trivial moments. Every situation, no matter how small, becomes a proving ground. Just as a muscle grows only through constant repetition, sweat, and patience, so too does the mind become strong only through relentless training. We often think that self-mastery is forged in the dramatic moments, the high-stakes choices, the big decisions, the public victories. But control is actually built in the unseen, ordinary acts of daily life. It starts in the quiet of the morning, when you rise and choose to make your bed rather than leave it in disorder. It grows stronger each time you refuse the lure of a familiar distraction, each time you finish your work even though nobody is watching, even though no one will clap or cheer for your effort. Every small act of self-command is like laying another brick in the fortress of your mind. Over time, these bricks form a wall, sturdy, resilient, able to withstand the storms of circumstance and emotion. Each repetition, each choice, strengthens your ability to lead yourself, even when the world tries to pull you off course. At first, your mind will resist fiercely. It will look for loopholes, make excuses, urge you to take the easier path. But as you continue steadfast, patient, and consistent, the resistance begins to fade. The mind, like a well-trained animal, starts to follow your lead. Not perfectly, not all at once, but with increasing speed and less complaint. What was once a struggle becomes a smoother process. What once felt forced begins to feel more natural, until discipline is no longer a conscious battle, but simply part of who you are. This transformation is subtle but profound. The actions that once required force become habits. The choices that once demanded so much effort become almost automatic. Strength, which began as struggle, grows into something steady and reliable. You find yourself doing the right thing more often, with less friction. You become the kind of person who does not have to fight for every small victory because you have already trained yourself for them. Yet even as discipline becomes easier, the work is never truly finished. Mastery is not a prize that is handed to you for a job well done. It is something you must earn over and over again. You repeat your practices not until they are merely comfortable, but until they become second nature. And then you keep repeating them, refusing to become complacent, knowing that the mind can always slip back into old patterns if neglected. So you persist, you rise, you practice, you reinforce your commitment every single day. Because mastery is not a destination you reach, but a path you walk. It is not given by others or granted by luck. It is built brick by brick, choice by choice, through the steady rhythm of disciplined living. And in that repetition, you earn the only true victory: command over yourself. Discipline is the purest freedom. Many people spend their lives chasing a version of freedom that is little more than self-indulgence. They imagine that to be free is to do whatever they want, whenever they want, without rules or restraint. This is the dream of the undisciplined, a seductive illusion that seems sweet in the moment, but leads inevitably to disappointment and captivity. For when you are governed only by desire, you soon become its prisoner. What begins as freedom devolves into weakness, and weakness is nothing but another name for chains. True freedom is not external. It is not measured by how few obligations you have or by the absence of barriers in your life. The real freedom is internal, a silent but powerful force. It is the ability to choose your response, regardless of what circumstances arise. It is the will to do what must be done, rather than what feels good in the moment. Real freedom is found in acting according to your highest principles, not your fleeting preferences. This is the kind of freedom that endures, the kind that cannot be taken from you by hardship, disappointment, or even the world itself. Without discipline, your appetites and desires become your masters. Every temptation that crosses your path holds a leash. Every passing pleasure becomes a trap, and every distraction pulls you further from your true path. You are tossed and turned by your moods, your whims, your cravings. You become a puppet, your strings pulled not by wisdom or will, but by every feeling that passes through your mind. The more you indulge these impulses, the weaker you become, until you are no longer living your own life, but simply reacting to whatever the world throws at you. Discipline is often misunderstood as a form of restriction or self-denial, but in truth it is the opposite. Discipline is the tool that reveals your truest self. It is the key that unlocks your potential, that sets you free from the tyranny of impulse. When you are no longer ruled by your urges, when you can say no to what weakens you and yes to what strengthens you, you begin to live with intention. You gain the power to direct your life, to act with purpose, and to choose your own destiny. Discipline does not confine you. It liberates you from the invisible chains of laziness, distraction, and self-indulgence. Consider the man who prides himself on doing whatever he feels like, whenever he feels like it. He is not free, he is a servant to every mood and craving. His life is reactive, not deliberate. He is easily swayed, easily defeated, and easily trapped by his own habits. On the other hand, the disciplined person learns to rise above mood and craving, to act not out of habit, but out of conscious choice. He stands firm when the world is in chaos, unmoved by temptation, clear about his values. This is freedom, not the absence of boundaries, but the ability to move with command and purpose within them. Every time you refuse to give in to what weakens you, every time you say no to an empty pleasure or a pointless distraction, you are saying yes to your own strength. This is the quiet path of real freedom. It does not come with applause or celebration. It is not always recognized by others, but it is real and it is lasting. To choose discipline is to choose true liberation. You become the master of your mind, the architect of your fate, and the author of your life. That is the freedom worth pursuing, earned through daily choices, practiced in silence, and revealed in who you become. Your standards create your life. Take a long, honest look at your life. Every outcome you see, whether it's your health, your relationships, your work, or your peace of mind, can be traced back to the standards you have chosen to accept. Some of these standards were set with clear intention, the result of conscious choice and determination. Others slipped in quietly, shaped by habit or by what you were willing to tolerate, perhaps without even noticing. But in every case, your life is built on what you allow, on the invisible line between what you demand of yourself and what you let slide. You cannot expect excellence in your results if you quietly accept mediocrity in your daily choices. You cannot sincerely crave greatness while continuing to make excuses for indiscipline, distraction, or half-hearted effort. The simple truth is this: what you permit in your life is what will take root and grow. If you let your standards slip, your results will soon follow. If you are careless about the small things, the larger things will suffer too. The world will always offer reasons to compromise, to delay, to choose the easy way, but every time you say yes to what is beneath you, you reinforce a future you do not want. Raising your standards does not require fanfare or public announcements. You don't need to declare your intentions to the world or seek validation from others. What matters is not what you say, but what you do, especially when no one is watching. When others start to slack off, you remain steadfast. When the room fills with gossip and distraction, you hold your focus and keep moving forward. When people around you lose heart and quit, you summon the endurance to continue quietly and consistently. This is not about appearing superior to others. It is about becoming superior to your former self. The mind, after all, takes shape around what it practices. Every standard you enforce, every act of discipline you repeat, becomes a brick in the foundation of your character. If you consistently demand more from yourself, more honesty, more effort, more patience, more excellence, your mind will begin to adapt. The habits that once felt difficult will become natural. The choices that once required force will become effortless. In this way, you gradually outgrow the weaker, smaller version of yourself, not through wishing or waiting, but through holding the line, day after day. Never negotiate with the parts of yourself that want to lower the standard. The weaker voice within you will always plead for comfort, for shortcuts, for an easier path. It will bargain and rationalize, urging you to take the day off or cut corners just this once. Do not explain your effort to those who do not share your vision, and do not beg for their understanding. Your purpose is not to be understood, applauded, or celebrated by the crowd. Your purpose is to become unshakable, to set a standard so high and so firm that even you, on your hardest days, refuse to drop below it. In the end, transformation does not come from big gestures or dramatic declarations, but from a quiet and relentless commitment to better standards. You become strong not by avoiding difficulty, but by refusing to accept less from yourself than you are truly capable of. Each time you hold your ground, you reinforce your identity. Each time you refuse to compromise, you build the kind of self-respect and resilience that no one can take from you. So look closely at your life. Decide what you will no longer tolerate. Then, in silence and in strength, live by that new standard until it shapes everything you do. Identity is earned through action. You are not simply the sum of your thoughts, wishes, or intentions. Your true character is not written in your daydreams or your plans for the future. It is easy to believe that the source of your resentment lies entirely with others, their actions, their words, their betrayals. But while you cannot control what others do, you are fully responsible for how long you choose to carry what they have done. The weight of resentment is not shared. The one who wronged you may have long since moved on, sleeping peacefully while you lie awake, turning over the hurt in your mind. They may never think twice about what they've done, while you bear the heavy burden of memory and anger. In this way, resentment becomes a chain you fasten around your own ankle, one that holds you back from the life you want to live. Forgiveness is often misunderstood as surrender, as if letting go of resentment means condoning the harm or forgetting the lesson. But forgiveness is not weakness. It is a powerful act of mental discipline. It is a conscious decision to stop letting the past dictate your present, to refuse to let an old wound become the central story of your life. Forgiveness is a declaration of strength. I will not allow this pain to define who I am. I will not give this anger the power to drain my spirit. In forgiving, you do not erase what happened, but you remove its grip on your future. Releasing resentment is not something you do for the one who wronged you. It is something you do for yourself. It is an act of self-respect, a reclaiming of energy that has been leaking through the cracks of old anger and unresolved hurt. Every ounce of energy spent wishing others were different is lost energy that could be used to build, to create, to become stronger and wiser. When you finally let go, you are not letting them off the hook. You are setting yourself free from the hook that has been lodged in your own heart. It is natural to want others to change, to hope for remorse or an apology. But the truth is, you cannot control the hearts or minds of others. You cannot force them to see your pain or to feel your sense of justice. The more you fixate on what should have been, the more you become trapped in a story that goes nowhere. Do not waste your life wishing others were different or waiting for their approval or regret. Instead, use all that energy and focus to build yourself into someone they cannot shake, someone unbothered by slights, someone unbreakable in the face of disappointment, someone who moves forward without the weight of bitterness. Release, then, is an act of liberation. It is how you reclaim your clarity, your decision-making power, and your inner peace. It is not about letting others escape responsibility, but about refusing to let their actions rob you of your future. Forgive not because they deserve it, but because you deserve the freedom and energy that comes with letting go. That is how you win not over them, but over the hold their actions once had on your life. The calm mind cuts deeper. When turmoil brews within, it rarely stays hidden. The storm inside, a mind caught in a whirlwind of worry, anger, or anxiety, often leads us down the wrong path. In moments of inner chaos, judgment falters. Decisions are made in haste, words are spoken in the heat of the moment, and actions are taken that soon lead to regret. How many times have you wished you could take back something said or done while agitated? The storm inside does not care for wisdom. It demands immediate relief, and too often we obey. Yet there is an alternative, a weapon that few ever learn to wield: the calm mind. A calm mind is not simply the absence of conflict or the presence of comfort. It is a state of deliberate composure, forged in the fire of life's difficulties. The calm mind sees through the fog. It notices what others miss. It remains grounded while the world shakes. This stillness is not weakness or passivity. Rather, it is an immense focused strength. The calm mind acts with precision. It makes decisions with clarity, undistorted by emotional turbulence. Its words are measured and carry weight, not because they are loud, but because they are the product of control. It is easy to mistake calmness for surrender or weakness, but nothing could be further from the truth. Calm is control under pressure. It is a form of power most do not possess. It is the ability to remain unprovoked, to hold your center when others try to knock you off balance. It is the refusal to be manipulated by insults, panic, or external chaos. Calm is a conscious choice, a discipline that says, I will not allow my peace to be broken by the world's noise. When others expect you to lash out, when they try to provoke or distract, your stillness becomes an unexpected force. Throughout history, those who maintain their composure in crisis rise above the crowd. While others lose their heads, the calm individual stands out. Why is this? Because clarity is a rare commodity in the midst of chaos. When panic spreads, people look for someone who can see straight, who can act wisely, who can speak with certainty. The calm mind attracts trust and respect, not by dominating the room, but by being the anchor everyone else needs. Influence flows naturally to those who can remain steady while the storm rages. So how do you cultivate this power? It begins with small, simple steps. Slow your breath when tension rises. Notice the urge to react impulsively and choose to wait. Still your thoughts by focusing on the present moment rather than on imagined catastrophes. Give yourself permission to delay your response when emotions run high. Sometimes the greatest show of strength is to say nothing at all until you have returned to your center. The calm mind does not act out of fear or haste. It waits for the right moment, and when it moves, it does so with intent and effectiveness. Its actions, unlike those born from chaos, rarely miss their mark. This is not because calmness guarantees perfection, but because it allows you to see all options clearly and choose the best course with unwavering resolve. In a world that values speed and spectacle, let your superpower be your calm. Protect it. Practice it. Let it guide you through conflict and confusion. The storm inside will always tempt you, but the calm mind, patient, deliberate, unshakable, will carry you farther than any burst of passion or flash of anger ever could. And when you act from this place, your words, decisions, and actions will not only be remembered, they will truly matter. Self-control is self-respect. Every time you betray your own standards, you inflict a wound upon yourself that goes deeper than any outside criticism. When you indulge the very habits, temptations, or distractions you once declared you would overcome, You quietly send a message to your mind, a message that your word cannot be trusted. It is as if each time you break a promise to yourself, you erode a little more of your inner foundation. Over time, this leads to a subtle but powerful sense of self-betrayal. Control, in its truest sense, is not simply about denying yourself pleasures or suppressing desires. It is about living with integrity. It is the art of aligning your daily actions with your deepest beliefs and values. Each act of discipline, each moment when you do what you said you would do, even when it is hard, declares something important. I respect myself. I am worthy of trust. My word means something, not just to others, but to myself. Think of how you treat those you care about. If you truly love someone, would you lie to them? Would you make promises you had no intention of keeping? Of course not. You would do everything in your power to honor your commitments and protect their trust. Yet, so many of us fail to extend this same courtesy to ourselves. We say we want peace, yet we repeatedly choose the habits, thoughts, and actions that bring chaos. We say we crave strength, but we continually feed our own weakness, giving in to every impulse, excusing every lapse, finding comfort in what is easy rather than what is right. The path to genuine self-respect is not paved with empty promises, but with follow-through. Anyone can make a vow in a moment of inspiration, but true character is revealed by what you do long after the mood or motivation has faded. Real respect is built in silence, in the repetition of right actions, in the quiet completion of tasks no one else may ever see. It grows with every time you hold the line against temptation, every time you do what you said you would do, regardless of how you feel in that moment. It's not your declarations that shape your identity, it's your daily execution. Self-respect isn't earned by the grandeur of your goals or the poetry of your intentions, but by the honest work of fulfilling what you set out to do. Each completed promise is a stone in the foundation of your integrity. Each broken promise is a crack that weakens the whole. It is worth asking yourself, if you wouldn't dare lie to someone you love, why would you lie to yourself? Why say you seek peace, yet make choices that bring only more noise and confusion? Why claim you want strength, yet choose actions that make you weaker? The answer and the solution lies in consistency, in bringing your behavior into alignment with your true values. Control is not a matter of cold self-denial, but of self-leadership. It is the discipline to choose, again and again, what serves your higher self, not just your passing moods. The one who learns to rule himself, to honor his own word, becomes unshakable in a world that constantly seeks to sway him. But the one who cannot govern himself will forever be at the mercy of every distraction, every temptation, every external demand. So make the choice, not just once, but daily. Do what you said you would do. Follow through until it becomes your nature, until you know deep in your bones that you can trust yourself. In this way, you not only build self-control, but real, enduring self-respect. For at the end of the day, it is not what you promise, but what you fulfill that defines who you truly are. Anticipation over reaction. Most people spend their lives adrift, moving wherever the current of circumstance happens to push them. They respond to each challenge as it appears, but rarely do they look beyond the next wave. Their lives are a series of reactions, one setback after another, always scrambling to fix, to patch, to recover. When life strikes, they scramble to respond, their energy consumed by putting out fires. They wait for problems to arrive before they ever consider preparing for them. There is no forethought, only reflex. In this way, the days and years pass in a blur of surprise and stress, with little sense of control or direction. But the wise do things differently. The wise do not wait for crisis to force their hand. Instead, they practice the art of anticipation. They look at life with attentive eyes, seeing patterns in themselves and in the world. They notice the turning of the seasons, the subtle signs that others miss. Rather than rushing headlong into every situation, they pause. They plan in quiet, far from the noise and distractions that blind most people. They take the time to study themselves, to understand their strengths, their weaknesses, their habits, and their tendencies. They also study the cycles and tides of life itself, learning what tends to come next and how best to meet it. Anticipation is a higher form of self-command. While most people live by reaction, forever surprised, forever caught off guard, the wise man prepares before he must. He does not wait for the shock or the crisis before he acts. He prepares calmly and acts early, building his foundation when the sun is shining so he is ready when the storm arrives. In this way, anticipation is not about paranoia or endless worry. It is about measured, thoughtful readiness, the quiet confidence that comes from having seen what is coming and having already made provisions for it. The difference between the undisciplined and the prepared is striking. The undisciplined man is always surprised. Every obstacle feels like an ambush. Every setback feels like a betrayal. He is startled, agitated, and often overwhelmed because he has done nothing to ready himself for adversity. He lives with the constant anxiety of being caught unprepared, always reacting to life's blows rather than meeting them with poise. In contrast, the prepared man rarely looks surprised. There is a calm about him, a quiet strength. He lives in a state of readiness, his mind steady, his emotions composed. He does not fear the storm because, long before the first dark cloud appeared, he was building quietly, steadily, and with great intent. This difference runs deeper than mere planning. It is emotional as well as practical. Reactiveness is emotional. It is the mind in turmoil, the spirit in constant flux. It is exhausting and leaves little room for clarity or growth. Anticipation, however, is strategic. It is an approach rooted in wisdom, discipline, and foresight. The one who anticipates is never caught flat-footed. He greets difficulty with strategy, not with panic. The lesson is clear. Be the man who reads the tide before it hits the shore. Cultivate the habit of quiet observation, of thoughtful planning, of honest self-study. Do not wait to be forced into action by circumstance. Prepare in silence, build your inner fortress, and watch as life's storms pass over you, leaving you unshaken. The path to true mastery is not found in reacting to every challenge, but in anticipating and meeting it before it arrives. Let your life be guided by strategy, not by emotion, and you will move through the world with a strength that is rare and unmistakable. Pain is not the end. The weak flee from pain. They do whatever they can to escape discomfort, turning away from even the slightest sign of struggle. They hope to find a path that is smooth and gentle, one that never asks much of them. But in running from pain, they only trade short-term relief for long-term weakness. Their avoidance becomes a cage, and every fear they refuse to face becomes a shadow that grows larger and more daunting. The strong, however, approach pain differently. Instead of running, they study it. They treat pain as a teacher, a trainer sent to reveal what is real and what is illusion. Pain does not simply wound. It uncovers the places where you are fragile, where your defenses are thin or untested. In the presence of discomfort, you can no longer hide behind pleasant fantasies or comforting lies. Pain has a way of burning away the excess, stripping you down to what is essential and true. In this sense, pain is not your enemy. It is your instructor, stern but honest. The mind you wish for, The resilient and disciplined spirit you admire in others cannot be built in comfort. Comfort softens resolve, dulls awareness, and encourages complacency. But power, real, enduring power, is forged in the fires of hardship. It is through enduring discomfort, facing your weaknesses, and learning from each trial that you become stronger than before. Each time you show up, even when you don't feel like it, you send a message to your own mind. I am reliable. I am in control. I do not break my word to myself. These messages stack up, becoming the bricks in a wall of self-trust and self-respect. Over time, that wall becomes your fortress, protecting you in the storms to come. The standard you maintain in private becomes your shield in public. The habits you reinforce in solitude will serve you when the world turns chaotic. Each day you endure, you prove to yourself that you can persist through difficulty, uncertainty, and emptiness. In doing so, you become the kind of person who does not rely on circumstance to act, who does not crumble at the first sign of discomfort, who is not shaken by the absence of reward or recognition. Endurance is its own form of power. Those who endure, who keep going when it's hard and thankless, are the ones who ultimately earn command over themselves, over their habits, and over the direction of their lives. They become the steady presence others look to in times of uncertainty. They become resilient, capable of facing any challenge without being broken by it. So, when you find yourself in those empty days, when you feel drained and directionless, remember, this is your proving ground. Show up anyway. Hold the line, not because it feels good, but because it is who you are. The mind respects consistency more than it respects flashes of inspiration. The discipline you show today will become the strength that shields you tomorrow. In the end, it is not brilliance, excitement, or external validation that forges greatness. It is endurance, the quiet, stubborn refusal to quit. And the one who endures, who persists regardless of circumstance, is the one who ultimately commands his life. The war is never over. There is no final destination where the mind is tamed once and for all, no ultimate victory after which chaos will never return. The battle inside is not won in a single day, nor is there a final, lasting peace where thoughts never stir, emotions never flare, and doubts never creep in. The truth is, the inner conflict continues as long as you live. There will always be days when restlessness returns, when old fears resurface, when emotions threaten to overwhelm your reason. But the difference is this: you are no longer caught off guard. You no longer expect the mind to be quiet forever. Instead, you anticipate the noise, the uncertainty, the surge of feeling. You have come to know the pattern that calm is something to be created, not something to be found. Now you meet the chaos not as a victim, but as a warrior. You are armed not with denial, but with understanding. Each day is another chance to prove your strength, not to the world, but to yourself. Victory in the mind is never permanent. It cannot be won once and forgotten. It is something to be earned again and again, day after day. Some mornings you will feel centered and confident. Others you will wake to a torrent of conflicting thoughts and emotions. But what matters is not whether the chaos comes back, but how you meet it. Do you crumble or do you rise? Do you allow yourself to be swept away, or do you gather yourself, breathe deeply, and take command? Every morning is a new beginning, a new test. When you wake, you must choose to face the noise and confusion head on. You must decide to meet the day with intention, to set your standard before the world sets its demands. Every night, as you prepare to rest, you should look back and reflect. Ask yourself, how did I stand today? Did I let my emotions dictate my actions, or did I hold the line? Did I lose myself in the rush, or did I stay grounded, even when it was hard? This process does not end. The war within is lifelong, but it is also the most meaningful and worthy struggle you will ever undertake. Running from discomfort only preserves fragility, but when you lean into it, something remarkable happens. Pain, when embraced with purpose, becomes a sharpening stone. It tests you, hones your focus, and forces you to adapt. Every challenge, every setback, every disappointment is an invitation to become more patient, more disciplined, more self-aware. Let pain humble you, for humility is the beginning of wisdom. In discomfort, you are forced to confront your limits honestly, and from there, you learn to push beyond them. Pain is not the end of the road, though it may feel that way in the moment. It is a door, a threshold you must pass through to reach the next stage of growth. No one climbs to the next level of mastery without paying the price in discomfort, frustration, and effort. The suffering is not pointless, it is the toll required for transformation. Those who refuse to pay it remain forever stuck, never knowing what they might have become if only they had been willing to endure a little more. To control your mind through suffering is to discover a freedom that few ever know. When you learn to keep your composure, to maintain your focus, even in the midst of pain, you become difficult to disturb. The storms that unsettle others do not move you. The discomfort that drives most people to quit becomes, for you, just another part of the process. You do not merely survive suffering. You rise above it, using it as fuel for further strength. In the end, the path to true resilience, to unshakable inner strength, is not found in avoiding pain, but in walking through it with eyes open and head held high. Do not run from what is hard. Let it transform you. Welcome the discomfort, for it is the fire in which you are forged. Pain is not a punishment, it is an invitation. Accept it, study it, and let it shape you. For the one who commands his mind in the midst of suffering does not just make it through life, he becomes untouchable, standing firm where others fall, and growing stronger with every trial he endures. Hold the line. There will be days when you wake up and feel absolutely nothing, no spark of motivation, no surge of energy, no sense of clarity or purpose. There will be mornings when you wonder why you should keep going, evenings when hope seems like a distant memory. The world may feel gray, heavy, and silent. You may question your own strength, your path, and the worth of your effort. But it is in these very days when every step feels like a burden, when progress seems invisible, when there is no audience and no applause that your character is truly forged. These are the days that shape you the most. It's easy to act with confidence and discipline when everything is falling into place, when the sun is shining and the way is clear. Anyone can be consistent when the path is smooth, when rewards come quickly, and when encouragement is abundant. But what about those quiet, lonely stretches when nothing seems to change, and you feel as if you're walking through fog? This is where the real test begins. Few possess the fortitude to hold the line when the world offers no immediate reward, when there are no witnesses to your effort and no promise that the work will soon pay off. It's in these moments of silence and struggle that your resolve is measured. To persist without visible progress is to train yourself in patience, discipline, and unwavering commitment. To keep your posture, to maintain your standard, to show up especially when it would be easier to stay in bed or drift away into distraction. This is what separates those who wish for strength from those who truly possess it. Consistency is a force more powerful than fleeting inspiration. The mind learns to respect what you repeat, not what you promise. Inspiration may give you a burst of energy for a day or a week, but it is discipline, the simple act of sticking to your path, day after day, that builds something permanent within you. Because everything else in life, every challenge, every achievement, every relationship is shaped first by the state of your own mind. If you gain mastery over your thoughts and emotions, you unlock the power to direct your actions, to shape your habits, to choose your responses, regardless of what happens around you. Mastery of the mind is the foundation of all other mastery. It is not the absence of struggle, but the ability to remain steady through it. It is not about never feeling fear, anger, or doubt, but about never letting those forces steer your life. The one who can command his mind becomes unshakable, able to face uncertainty without panic, adversity without despair, and success without arrogance. So the work continues. Day after day, you watch your thoughts, you train your responses, you hold your standards. You do not wait for the mind to be still. You build the skill to calm it. You do not hope for the chaos to disappear. You develop the discipline to stand firm within it. This is not a practice for the weak-willed or the half-hearted. It is a path for those who know that the greatest victory is not won on the outside, but within. Force yourself to control your mind because no one else will, and no one else can. In doing so, you prepare yourself for whatever the day may bring, and you ensure that whatever battles you face, you remain the master of your fate.